Deion Sanders' decision to bring in Sacramento State head coach Brennan Marion as Colorado's new offensive coordinator arrives like a jolt of electricity through a program searching for its pulse. A program that once felt like the center of the sport under the glow of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, but slipped hard into the shadows in 2025, tumbling to 3-9 and losing its identity in the process. Marion, just 38 years old, but already a name whispered with curiosity and respect in coaching circles, steps away from Sacramento State after a 7-5 debut season, but that record hardly captures the weight of his arrival in Boulder. What Colorado is getting is not simply a coach. They are getting a system, a philosophy, a football language spoken so boldly and creatively that it reshapes entire programs. The go-go offense that Marion introduced at UNLV 3 years ago wasn't just a system. It became a weapon that transformed a dormant program into one of the most dangerous in the Mountain West. Barry Odom saw something when he hired Marion, something restless and electric, something capable of waking up a team that hadn't won more than 7 games in over 20 years. Marion rewarded that faith with a 20-8 run over the next 2 seasons, turning UNLV into a ferocious, confident, creatively disruptive offense that embarrassed opponents who weren't ready for the pace, the motion, the misdirection, the vertical strikes, the triple option wrinkles, and the sheer unpredictability of it all. In 2023, that offense made school history: 6 games with more than 40 points, third down brilliance at 49.3%, a red zone efficiency north of 93%, and a national scoring ranking inside the top 25 despite the chaos of replacing a starting quarterback midseason. It wasn't just efficiency. It was resilience, adaptability, and imagination fused together in a way that made defenses feel like they were trying to track smoke in a windstorm. Now Deion Sanders is betting big that this same imagination can breathe life back into a Colorado team that too often looked lifeless, predictable, overmatched, and overwhelmed. Losing a Heisman winner like Travis Hunter and a record-setting quarterback like Shedeur Sanders would stagger almost any program. But Colorado didn't just stumble. They collapsed statistically in ways that left even their most loyal fans rubbing their eyes in disbelief. Ranked 14th in the Big 12, 113th in the nation in yards per play, and 116th in scoring, the Buffs weren't merely struggling, they were sinking and sinking fast. The running game, long the sorest spot on the depth chart, offered little relief. Even though 125.6 yards per game in 2025 technically counted as improvement after the previous year's stunning 65.2-yard average. That's how far the floor had fallen. A number that still ranked near the bottom of the conference was considered progress. But Brennan Marion does not walk into problems like a man intimidated by them. He walks into them like a man itching to design his way out. His offense, a creative, almost theatrical pro-style system wrapped in layers of triple option DNA, eye-candy motions, ring-around-the-rosy formations, and misdirection that can look chaotic but is rooted in crisp structure, is exactly the kind of system that takes an unsteady program and gives it rhythm, movement, motion, and identity. The beauty of Marion's scheme is that it confuses defenses but clarifies things for his players. Every run has an attached triple option. Every formation offers a threat somewhere defenders aren't expecting. Every motion is designed not just to distract but to tilt leverage, to pull bodies out of position, to force defenders into hesitation, the most fatal sin in modern college football. And when defenders finally take the bait, eyes drifting toward the backfield chaos, the offense lifts its head and attacks vertically, striking deep with a ruthlessness that became Marion's signature. This was not a one-school phenomenon. Before UNLV, Marion proved the system's potency at William & Mary and Howard at the FCS level, laying foundations of creativity and explosiveness that caught the attention of bigger programs. His offense was not a gimmick. It was an evolution, a hybrid of old-school option principles and modern pro-style spacing. It was football as geometry, football as choreography, football as surprise party after surprise party for defenses stuck in guess mode. And now that offense lands in Boulder, where Deion Sanders has made it clear he refuses to let the program slide backward quietly. Sanders has always been about boldness, about shaking tradition, about living loudly in a sport that so often rewards caution. Bringing in Marion is another shot of that boldness. A recognition that the Buffs need not just a new direction but a new identity. A system that can maximize fresh talent and create mismatches even when the roster is in transition. Colorado in 2025 looked stiff, predictable, and at times unimaginative, but Marion has never been any of those things. He is an architect of movement, a conductor of offensive tempo, a designer of plays that feel like puzzles opposing coordinators don't have enough pieces to solve. His challenge now will be reshaping a Colorado roster still reeling from the departures of two of the greatest players in program history. The pressure is undeniable. Fans expect fireworks, Sanders expects excellence, and the Big 12 will not wait for the Buffs to figure themselves out. But if the past few years have proven anything, it is that Brennan Marion does his best work when he is handed a broken engine and asked to make it roar. Colorado's rushing attack, once an annual punchline, now steps into the laboratory of a coach who thrives on reviving the ground game with creative angles, deceptive footwork, and multiplicity. His offenses never rely on a single superstar. They rely on structure, stress, and the relentless disorientation of defenders forced to diagnose plays that change shape the moment the ball is snapped. There is a certain poetry in the pairing of Deion Sanders and Brennan Marion, two men unafraid of criticism, unafraid of spectacle, unafraid of innovation. Colorado football has never lacked attention. What it has lacked lately is production. And Marion's career has been defined by manufacturing production where doubt once lived. So now the question becomes whether this system, this motion-filled, trick-laced, option-rooted, vertical striking offense can be the lifeline Colorado needs. The hope in Boulder is not just that Marion improves the numbers, but that he restores the belief, that sense that Colorado can still be dangerous, creative, unpredictable, alive. As the winter settles over the Flatirons, you can almost feel the program's heartbeat begin to pick up again. Deion Sanders did not bring in Brennan Marion to tinker. He brought him in to ignite. And as word of Marion's arrival spreads through Boulder, there's an unmistakable shift in tone. A sense that Colorado's offense, once a source of frustration and stalled drives, could soon become the centerpiece of the program's resurgence. What makes Marion so compelling is not simply the innovation of his scheme, but the contagious swagger with which he teaches it. A confidence that seeps into meeting rooms, onto practice fields, into huddles, and ultimately into the identity of the players who carry it forward. His quarterbacks talk about seeing the field differently. His running backs talk about lanes they never imagined could exist. His receivers speak of timing and spacing and freedom, of plays that feel less like assignments and more like opportunities. And in Boulder, where the offense felt suffocated under the weight of expectations it couldn't meet, that kind of freedom matters. It brings breath back into a program that spent much of 2025 gasping for answers. Deion Sanders didn't just want an offensive coordinator. He wanted a partner who could reinterpret the game through a new lens. Someone who could walk into a room full of players still haunted by the ghosts of last year and convince them that the future doesn't have to look like the past. Marion has done it before. He has taken the overlooked and made them explosive. He has taken the doubted and made them fearless. And now he steps into Colorado carrying not just a playbook but a promise. That the Buffs will no longer be predictable, no longer be passive, no longer be a team that teams circle on their schedule as a breather. Instead, they will become something harder to defend, something harder to prepare for, something that forces opponents to spend sleepless nights sorting through motions and formations and threats that seem to emerge from every direction at once. Colorado may not immediately regain the star power it lost, but with Brennan Marion guiding the offense, they may find something even more valuable. An identity built on creativity, confidence, and constant pressure that refuses to let a defense rest. And if that spark catches flame, if Marion's vision takes hold the way it did at UNLV and at every stop before it, then what Deion Sanders is building in Boulder could once again feel not just relevant but dangerous. A program reborn through the imagination of a coach who has never accepted limits and a leader who refuses to let Colorado fade quietly into the background.